Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakat, Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach the Bible in 100% truth. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, starting with the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans in the land of North, Central, and South America, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners who live amongst the other nations, whose bloodline goes back to the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who received this word, Shalom, to you. Okay, today back with the biblical prophecy of Revelation 13:16 on down, and we're looking at the subject of the MOTB, which is an acronym. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, then if you were to go to Revelation 13:16 on down, you will soon understand what the acronym means, what it represents, MOTB. And because of the algorithms that have been set up to look out for certain keywords regarding this subject in order to block certain information from coming out. And that's why we have to use certain particular code language, code words, and acronyms to describe certain things. Otherwise, these videos will be pulled down. And it's not a surprise because, the Bible is also written in that particular way. It's written in a way that, it's written in coded language. Because again, if it was written in plain modern day English, then the powers that be would have to ban the Bible because the message from the Bible would be quite clear and quite detrimental to this current kingdom and society, as it, clearly gives you signs and events that will be taking place at the very end, at the very downfall of this society, which we're witnessing at the minute. So, the topic of Revelation 13:16 on down, MOTB, or you can even see it on the screen here, MOTB, you can work that out, the MOTB. And we understand that a charagma will be involved. A charagma is an incision in the skin. And as you can see on the screen, a device will be placed within that incision, underneath the skin. And this device will be used as a digital wallet in order to buy and sell. It will also be used as your identification, your modern day passport, so on and so forth. And it will also be used to monitor your biometrics and read your biometrics in order to track you, have a good idea of what you're up to at any particular time. And powers that be also want to be able to read your biometrics to ultimately control you and manipulate you. If the government give you a particular message about a particular subject, they want to know your true feelings. So on the outside you may smile and say, yeah, that's fine, I'll go ahead with that, your agenda. But they want to know how you're reacting internally, how you really think, how you really feel about this. So ultimately this is going to work as one huge lie detector test, so to speak. And once the population takes this, the powers that be, they pretty much want to play the role of the Most High by sitting back in their chair and being able to read your biometrics and read things about you, when you're not even in their presence. This is exactly what the Most High can do with the population of the earth. So this is the spirit of the devil working on the Edomite kings, the banking elites, to implement the MOTB. And the MOTB is, the spirit of the devil pretty much trying to hijack human bodies and become the official Most High to these wicked people who take this device. And this is the final judgment. This is the final test before the end of this particular society, before the day of the Lord, before the great judgment that is due to take place. And this is a time of temptation. So, if you're a member of the elect, a member of the elect of the nation of Israel, then you have a chance. You will be delivered in the day of the Lord. And something like this, the MOTB, is something that you cannot get involved in. So it's crucial, especially to anyone that's new to this faith, to understand what the MOTB is, and to understand we're living in the time now where it's being implemented and changes are taking place regarding bringing this prophecy forth. So I've got an article today regarding this particular topic, and before we go into it, we're going to look at Isaiah 32:6. It says here, "For the vile person will speak villainly, and his heart, which is his mind, will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against the Lord," all capitals Yahweh. You can do that, for example, by taking the image of the Lord's Son, Yahushai, and changing the look and the appearance of that particular image. That is one way in which you can utter error against the Lord. It says to make empty the soul of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. The instruments also of the churl are evil. The churl is the scoundrels. The instruments of the scoundrels are evil. He deviseth wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words, even when the needy speaketh right. And so, I came across this particular precept by tapping in the word devices. So what I'm going to show you in a minute in this particular next article is a device of the wicked, a device of Esau, Edom, a device of these banking elites who set the agendas in this current day society. And so, we're looking at the MOTB is a device that will be placed under the skin, and the events that are, causing a financial collapse and a global change. These are all devices designed to usher in the MOTB. So that's why, tapping in that particular word, I came across this particular precepts. Now, this is regarding Isaiah in the Assyrian captivity, I believe, and speaking to Israelites at that particular time regarding up and coming judgment. And the same thing applies today, because we're out here giving warning yet again that the prophets of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai are back again. And you know what that means? That means the kingdom is about to fall. Israelites about to get judged. But this time, this is the ultimate judgment. This judgment includes the actual day of the Lord. So we can apply the scripture to today, and like I say, we know this can be applied to the Edomites, as it says here, to utter error against the Lord, which is what they've done in the time of Renaissance, the rebirth of the Edomite power structure. And within that period, they've recreated a modern day Christianity, and they've whitewashed images of the holy people, not just Yahushai, but also the Most High Yahushai, and also other prophets and kings from previous times, Israelite people. So we know this can definitely be applied to the Edomites who were under that captivity today. And it says here, he will cause the drink. Sorry, he will make empty the soul of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. So this is what's going to happen with the ushering in of the MOTB, the time that we're living in now. It says here to make empty the soul of the hungry. So how do you empty the soul of the hungry? Well, the hungry are the Israelites, the poor, the meek, and the fact that we're living in captivity. And for example, if you were to look at the Israelites in Babylon the Great, America, and compare them to the other nations that are living in America, the Edomites, the Elamites, Ishmaelites, and so on and so forth, it's quite clear to see that out of these different nations of people living in America, the most hungry, the poorest, are the Israelites. And it says here to make empty the soul of the hungry. So to empty the soul of the hungry, what type of soul is it that the Israelites are filled with? Especially the tribe of Judah and Babylon the Great, America, they're filled with the soul of the Most High. They're made in the image of Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai. So they have the Holy Spirit. Although in this current time we're living in, these Israelites also have many wicked spirits attached to them. They have many demons upon them. That's why they live so wickedly. But it says it to make empty the soul of the hungry. So that soul initially is the spirit of Israel that these Israelites have. By taking the MOTB, no Israelite can be delivered in the day of the Lord, in the time of Jacob's trouble. Other nations can't be delivered anyway, full stop. And if you're a nation of the nation of Israel, then you have to be a member of the elect to be delivered in that day. But the rest of these Israelites, they're going to take this MOTB. This MOTB is a digital awl. You look up the word awl, A-U-L. It's pretty much an earring, a stake in the ear. And this signifies that you love your master. You can look that up in the scriptures yourself if you're new. So this MOTB, this device to be placed within the incision in your skin, inside the charagma, inside the mark. And this ultimately is a digital awl. This is, so when you take this, you're pretty much saying, in the time of judgment, in the hour of temptation, you're pretty much saying to the Most High, I trust the Edomite kings more than I trust you. So I'm going to take this digital awl, this device, I'm going to place it under my skin, and I'm going to hope that, this is what gets me through this time of judgment. And obviously we know that's not going to happen. And so by taking this particular device, ultimately you're handing your soul over to the Edomites, over to the devil. This is why it's the hour of temptation. You will have to make a great, huge decision as to what you do. The hour of temptation, and that's what the temptation is going to be. And we know that the members of the elect are going to have a strong spirit on them to reject this MOTB, and it's going to seem like it's going to bring about their demise, but ultimately something will come through and the Lord will deliver them. And then the day the Lord will come and the members of the elect will be beamed up into those chariots out of the way of the destruction. So in the meantime, this hour of temptation, this choice that you're going to have to make will be, as to whether to take this MOTB, especially when they make it mandatory. And, by taking that MOTB, by placing that device under your skin, you're ultimately going to be emptying your soul out. You might wake up. I mean, there are accounts of people who took, the thing in 2021. They were pushing this. There was one particular thing that they were pushing in 2021 all around the world. They were offering this one particular thing to every single person on the planet. And the majority of people on this planet took that particular thing. I can't say the name of that thing, obviously, because it'll affect the video and they'll bring it down. But if you're wise, you'll understand that thing that I'm talking about. So there are accounts of people who took that thing, and after that they said they felt like their spirit, their faith had departed from them. This is the emptying of their soul. So there's going through that particular phase is part of the implementation of the MOTB. But the cherry on the cake comes when the particular device you can see on the screen is then made mandatory. The minute they're collapsing the financial system, they're setting up the digital system, the CBDC, and they'll have that up and running soon. And then at some point they're going to have a false flag event. Once the economic system collapses, they're going to say, we're going to put it back up. We're going to put it back up online. No cash, no coins, paperless, and it's and we know this as the MOTB. So understanding that, we're looking at events that are taking place right now around the world, and this particular article in the Mirror does exactly that. This is the bottom here. You can see dated 19th of May 2023. It says the cost of living crisis to enter new phase with food price shock warning. Okay, so this is the message that's coming out now. We're seeing a collapse of the global financial system. The events that took place in 2020 and 2021 with the furlough system, for example, that went a really long way to push up inflation. And that's why we have prices increasing rapidly all over the earth. And this is all going towards that financial collapse. And then in 2022, we had a situation with Russia and Ukraine. And that put pressure on energy supplies with particular sanctions. So what did that do? That created inflation for yet again everybody on the planet. And now we live in a time where we have the cost of living crisis. So because of these events, one after the other, inflation is on the increase rapidly. And they're going to keep bringing in these events until we hit hyperinflation. And when we hit hyperinflation, that's when people will be walking around with wheelbarrows of money, and the wheelbarrow of money will be worth £1, $1. It'll be worthless. So that's when we're around that time, we're looking for that total collapse of this current system. So up until that point, we're going to keep seeing more events. And as you can see here in the headline, the cost of living crisis enters a new phase now with food price shock warning. You've just had the energy, the inflation caused by the energy crisis, and now it's going to, and food prices have gone up in the last year as well as that, because food, energy is needed to produce food. So not only have your energy bills gone up rapidly, but your food prices have gone up steadily in the previous year. But now the food prices are going to increase rapidly, and that's going to be the new phase of this current global financial crisis. It says that households will soon be paying an average of £1,000. I believe this is in the UK. £1,000 more on food each year compared to before again, I'm not going to say this particular word on the screen, before the time of 2020, 2021. Experts fear with lower income, families worse hit as they already buy budget products, so can't select cheaper alternatives. Okay, what they're saying is, the way the situation is going at the minute, this current financial cost of living crisis, poorer families are already buying budget foods and budget items because that's all they can afford at the minute. And so they're saying that, when the situation worsens, those are the families that are going to be hit quickest because they already don't have so many options at the minute. They've already been at the bottom of the barrel in terms of selection. Food prices will soon overtake energy bills as the cost of living crisis enters a new phase. A worrying new study warns today. Households will soon be paying an average of £1,000 more on food each year compared to before 2020, 2021. Experts fear compared to £900 more on energy. So, at the minute, what they're pretty much trying to say is in the UK, people are now paying £900 more on energy than they were 3 years ago in 2019. A lot of that's obviously down to what happened last year in 2022. But they're saying now, within the next year, we're going to see households paying £1,000 more a year towards food than they were in 2019. So, the inflation is on the increase. It says food inflation has already reached a 50-year high this year And researchers from the Resolution Foundation think tank say it will get even worse in the coming months. Lower income families will be worst hit as they often already buy cheaper products, so will have less space for savings. Economist Lalitha Try warned that politicians do not seem to have grasped how serious the problem is. And this is something that I've alluded to before. Since 2020 has come about, since we're in this time of this great reset, this global financial change, the bringing down of one system and the raising up of another system. Since we hit this particular period, it seems like all the governments all over the world have pretty much got their feet up on the table. They don't seem to take the issues that the population present to them seriously anymore, and they all seem to be on the same particular agenda, even if things don't make sense. And this is because the New World Order is in town. They are now, they've always been calling the shots, and very soon they're about to show themselves. There's going to be a point at which they're going to make it very clear and known. This is the New World Order, and you're living under this particular system. They've already been alluding to it in the last year or two, and that message is going to grow and become more clearer. So you have people out here protesting and complaining, and they're speaking to their governments, but the governments have got their feet up on the table. They've received the memo from the New World Order, and there's a new sheriff in town, so to speak. Like I say, the New World Order always been there, pulling strings, these banking elites. But now it's about making it clear who they are, because once they implement this MOTB system, and we're living under this so-called new era, all these so-called conspiracy theories will all be made known. Everybody will know what's happening. This whole time, all this talk about microchipping has been taking place. People call it conspiracy theories, but when they make it mandatory, the whole world is going to know. So there's going to be no argument about it. And the fact of the New World Order coming out and saying, look, this is who we are, is not going to be some big surprise, because you're going to be living under that situation that they want you under. And, there's not going to be very many happy people around when they understand that. It says here, she said, this is back to the Lalitha Try. She said, everyone realizes food prices are rising, but it's less clear that the scale of the increases has been understood in Westminster. This is what I'm saying. It's as if the politicians ain't hearing. Of course they're hearing. They just know that there's a new agenda. It says this summer, the food price shock to family finances is set to overtake that from energy bills. What remains consistent is that those on low to middle incomes are worse affected. The cost of living crisis isn't ending, it's just entering a new phase. It comes after tone deaf ex-Tory MP Anne Whitcomb, asked about the rise in the cost of cheese sandwich, said, because we have been decades without inflation, we have come to regard it as some sort of given right that our food doesn't go up. So this is a particular ex-member of parliament in the UK. And when they asked her about, how expensive a cheese sandwich is nowadays, her response was that, because we've lived decades without inflations, we've got used to it as if it never happens. And the fact that it's happening, we've pretty much got to get used to it. That was her response. And this is another one here from Tory MP Brendan Clark-Smith, said people should buy value beans to cut costs. So these are statements coming out from British MPs, which clearly show the people are presenting their problem to them, and they just give you wishy-washy nonsense answers. They're pretty much just fobbing you off, because they know this New World Order are pushing through this agenda no matter what. And it says a study published today found that most people now spend 13% of their income on food, compared to 5% for 2020. That's one hell of a jump. It found that 61% of the poorest households have cut back on food and other essentials, compared to 35% among the richest fifth of homes. So, whoever you are, you've all had to make cutbacks, and these cutbacks are going to increase in the next year or so. Says the Resolution Foundation said poorer households are more likely to already be purchasing the cheapest products, are also less able to respond to rising food prices by changing what they purchase. In March, food inflation hit a massive 19.1%, and it is thought this may still continue to rise. So, this is it's just a short article, but this kind of shows you where we're entering now. We're living in that time of this great reset. As we've been saying, the prophets of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai have quite clearly been stating over the last 2 to 3 years that the things that are affecting you, and how can I put it, taking the shine off. The scriptures talk about the mirth being removed, from the people in this up and coming time of Jacob's trouble and time of judgment. And, the mirth has been removed from the earth since 2020 with these things that we're being hit with. First of all, it was 2020 and 21, then it was Ukraine, Russia, energy prices we were hit with, and now we're going to be hit with a massive increase in the cost of food prices. So, nothing's going to get better from here on in. And this is something that I've been saying myself for at least 2 years. From this point, nothing's going to get better. Everything gets worse until we see the destruction of this financial system and this particular society and everything with it, the day of the Lord. So, people got over the energy crisis. They've seen the energy bills going up over the last year or so. Even myself, I'm having to do the odd extra shift here and there every month just to be able to get that extra bit of money to cover that energy bill. My energy bill for my house alone, without looking at my car, my energy bill for my house alone has gone up 4 times what it was just over a year ago. So you're talking, say, 15 months ago to now, my energy bills have gone from £100 a month to £400 a month. And that's just on my house. That's without the car or anything else. So, we've definitely seen that. And now we're entering, we've seen food prices go up already as well. But now we're going to see a rapid increase in food prices. And this time next year, you're going to have to go to work for an extra 1 or 2 shifts a month just to be able to cover that same food bill that you're covering at the minute. So we're definitely heading towards, a global crisis, and the global crisis is going to center around global economic collapse. And, with that, there's going to be great famine, great distress. We're going to bring in a new system. The new system will be the MOTB. And if you do accept it, you definitely won't be delivered in the day of the Lord. And if you don't accept it, then you're not going to be able to buy or sell. And you're not going to be able to go shopping for basics like food. So all you can do at that point is rely on Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai to deliver you through those particular times. So before I go, I'm going to hit you with one more. I looked again, I came across this particular set of precepts because of the word devices. This is, looking at the fact that I mentioned before, I looked up the first previous precept because of the word device, and that is something that the wicked are using. The wicked are using particular devices, and this is Proverbs chapter 1, and this mentions the word device, but not a device of the banking elites of the Edomites. This is more a device of wicked Israelites that are going to go along with taking this MOTB. You've got Israelite teachers out here that are teaching the message of the MOTB falsely. And so when the MOTB comes along, the followers of these teachers are not going to be aware of what it actually is. And so, they're at risk of taking the MOTB. And ultimately, this is all down to the devices of the false teacher, another particular device. This is Proverbs chapter 1 and 20. As you can see, the headline here says, wisdom warns. Wisdom is a spirit, and it's a feminine spirit. It says, wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse. In the openings of the gates, in the city, she uttereth her words, saying. And so wisdom, the spirit of wisdom, is uttering her voice in the streets. How? By working on the teachers, the members of the elect, the teachers of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, and the prophets. And with that, the message is going out there. That's how you understand this message of what the MOTB is. If the Holy Spirit had not been put on these men, and wisdom, the spirit of wisdom had not jumped onto them, and they had not been out there in the streets crying out with this particular message, you would have no idea what the MOTB is. And when they came along with this particular chip, a higher possibility you would take it. 1 and 22 says, how long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity, and the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. We're out here, we're trying to reprove the nation of Israel, show them the true power and the true understanding of this Bible, and a lot of them don't want to hear it. And they ultimately, within their minds, they're simple, and they've been led astray by these wicked devices, these false idols, and these false philosophies. And Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai sees them as simple ones that love simplicity. And it's the same thing when it comes to the Israelite teachers who know they're Israelites, who tried to spread this message coming from the Bible, yet they don't teach the MOTB correctly. Yet again, these teachers, they have some truth, but not all the truth. And the reason why they don't have all the truth is because they're simple within their own simplicity. And when we try to explain to them and reprove the fact that they've got these particular parts wrong in this particular message, a particular device in them, known as pride, is something that will stop them from accepting that message and changing their false message. So, it applies to Israelites who don't take this word on board, as well as false teachers who are teaching the MOTB incorrectly. And we're going to see that further on down. It says, how long, ye simple ones, will you love simplicity, and the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge? Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. So, this definitely has to be Israelites if the Lord's word will be made known unto them. It says, because I have called and ye refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I will also laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. So this is something that's going to happen in the time of Jacob's trouble. Those that are not taking on board this message, this understanding in its full 100% correctness. It says here, the Lord will laugh at your calamity, will mock when your fear cometh. It says, when your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. So, who is it that will call on Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai? These false prophets that are out here today teaching who the Israelites are, but they won't teach the MOTB correctly, or they won't use the correct names, Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. They use Christ and Most High, and so on and so forth. And these false prophets, we tell them, look, you need to use the correct name, and everything else you got is good, but you need to teach the correct name, and you need to teach the MOTB correctly, for example. And they say, no, 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 we're not going to do that, because it's the device of pride within them that makes them not want to accept someone else's breakdown. And these people, when you see these particular people in trouble, they're quick to call on Yahweh if they're sick. But when things are going good and they're feeling strong, all of a sudden they forget the name and they go back to Christ and Most High. And so what's going to happen when the microchip is made mandatory? We all know that these false prophets are going to quickly jump back to the name Yahweh. They're going to do their little circle of events where they're down and they call on Yahweh, then they're up high, they're feeling good again, and then they go back to Most High in Christ, then they're down, then they call on Yahweh, then they're high again, so they're calling on Most High and Christ. So they keep going in this particular pattern. And what this is showing you is that when that MOTB gets made mandatory, these people are going to jump back to the name Yahweh and say, oh, Yahweh, please deliver me the time in Jacob's trouble, which I told, which I didn't warn people of properly. What does it say here? It says, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. Because soon as those stations go up, they're going to know GMS, that particular message was right. The government are giving this message, this is now mandatory. You need this to buy or sell. And that's it. The game's going to be over at that point. There's going to be, all your angles of maneuver, they're going to be shut down at that point. There's going to be nothing left to argue, but just to turn up at this chipping station and take it. And that's, these people who are already hearing the message and saying it's wrong and trying to twist it into something else, they know what the true message is. So as soon as it happens, they're going to know, damn, this is it. And they're going to quickly jump back. Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, deliver me. And it ain't going to happen. It says here, I will not answer. And I always say, no answer is an answer. When people say, I didn't get an answer, you got to understand, no answer is a very clear, loud answer. Okay? So when they say, Lord, deliver me, please, it's the time of Jacob's trouble, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. Yahweh, I call on the name Yahweh, they're going to get no answer. And that no answer basically means I'm not dealing with you. You spent too much time messing around, playing around, getting reproved, not listening to it. You had 90% of the truth. And I had men out here giving you that last 10% and you didn't want to take it. And now, as soon as the trouble's here, you jump back onto my name, call it, I will not answer. No answer is a very clear and loud answer. Don't forget, just before Yahweh Shai was about to go on the cross, and he prayed 3 times to Yahweh, do I really have to go on the cross? And 3 times he got no answer. No answer was a very clear and loud answer. Do I really have to do it? No answer means you have to do it. This is pretty much it. Proverbs 1:29, it says, for they hated knowledge. They hate the knowledge of this MOTB, the way that we're breaking it down. Although now they're starting to mention certain things that we mention, CBDC, digital currency. Ultimately it's going to be inevitable. This is what I'm saying. When it gets to that point, there's going to be no doubt when the stations go up and the government issue the message that this is mandatory, there's going to be no doubt. So that's why, at some point they have to pick up the language that we're using, because we are speaking of things that are happening. And as they happen, it's very hard to ignore them. It says, for that they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. Because if they really feared the Lord now, they wouldn't be playing around with the name, and they'd be teaching his message correctly. Rather, seems like almost they're accepting payment from the powers that be to change the message that they're giving. It says, they would none of my counsel, they despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way, and be filled with their own devices. So, ultimately, Esau wants to fill you with a device, this MOTB, and these false teachers out here that are not teaching the message properly, they don't want to change their message because it's the pride within them, the device in them, that stops them changing their message. I don't want to follow GMS. I don't want to have to change my message and come around to what GMS is saying is right, because then I'm pretty much saying that GMS are over me. So the pride is the device within them that stops them teaching the message correctly. And it says, therefore shall they eat the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices. So, when it comes to this MOTB, like I say, you will seek the Lord early, these false prophets. They'll say, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, and there'll be no answer. And that'll be you eating the fruit of your own way. And, and it says here, filled with your own devices, because from that point onwards, you're going to be in Jacob's trouble. You're going to have to navigate your way through Jacob's trouble, knowing that the Lord ain't going to answer you. You're going to be calling, you're going to get no help, no answer. And so you're going to have to work it out yourself, work it out off your own device. Proverbs 1:32 says, for the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whose hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil. Because you've got those that follow these false teachers, and these are also simple ones, because they follow the message of these false leaders. They don't even check up the information or the what they're being taught. If they did, they'd realize it was wrong and could steer clear of them, but they won't, because they just follow. So it says, for the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. So you follow these fools that are teaching this message incorrectly, you too will be destroyed. It says, but whoso hearken unto me shall dwell safely. And that's what we're doing. We're hearkeneth unto the Most High, Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, and the scriptures, and the true understanding of the scriptures, and the message of the true men of the Lord. It says, and shall be quiet from fear of evil. So that's what we're hoping. In the time of Jacob's trouble, we're hoping everything around us is quiet from fear of evil. The scriptures say that, my servants shall eat. And so, also, a standard will be raised. The Lord will lift up a standard, so on and so forth. So, we're heading to that time of 2nd Ezra chapter 15, 16, great famine. And, at the minute, we've seen all these different phases since the back end of 2019. We've seen phase 1, which is in 2020 and 2021. Phase 2, which was, the Russia-Ukraine, 2022, that was last year. And now we're heading into a new phase. From the energy crisis, cost of living crisis, we're going into the food crisis. And this is all based around collapsing this financial system, this MOTB. So with that, I'm going to leave it right there. I hope that was edifying. And until next time, I'm going to say all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah, Kwadash. And until next time, Shalom.